Okay. Maximize. Okay, good morning everybody. Now we are going to start our morning session. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless living friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desires for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to the birth in the womb. With this metta thoughts, friends, let us begin our mindfulness practice. We repeat these metta thoughts every day. In fact, we should repeat them every moment in our mind, because it is so powerful. There is no medicine that can heal the wound of anger, resentment, greed, and so on, other than metta. This is very, very effective if we seriously practice this in thoughts, words, and deeds. When we start the practice with this background, the breath we notice always rising and falling, feeling that arises with the breath rising and falling, perception of the feeling and the breath rising and falling, attention of the breath, feeling and rising and falling. Consciousness of all this is rising and falling. When we see rising and falling, all this what we call breath, feeling, perceptions, attention and consciousness, it makes the mind so calm, relaxed and peaceful that no desire, greed can grip our mind. This practice keeps resentment, the greed at bay, hold it at bay, and mind becomes even more calm, relaxed and peaceful. Next step we notice, as we started metta meditation, we started this morning session as usual with metta. Now we begin to feel metta in us. And when we feel metta, our resentment fades away. And the body, the breath, mind become even more relaxed, more calm, more peaceful. And then that is a very powerful mental state. It is so calm, relaxed and peaceful. Sometimes we even feel sleepy and drowsy, which is the opposite of our mindfulness. So we stay awake, alert, and arouse our spiritual energy and think that this moment is extremely important, powerful moment. We must make the best use of this moment. That we cannot do with sleepiness and drowsiness. We sleep every day, but we don't get up with insight unless we remain alert and mindful all the time. So we have very short life, rare opportunities to practice. So we should not waste that difficult moment, difficult to attain, difficult to find. So we keep awake, noticing rising and falling without verbalizing or conceptualizing. That needs great effort. Not simple effort, but a very powerful effort to combat sleepiness and stay with mindfulness. When this happens, our effort may be little more than we needed, and then we become restless and worried. Restlessness happens not because of our energy alone, but worrying about things that we have done incorrectly or incompletely, or the mind might wander to the future. Even though the past is gone, future has not come to this moment. The mind is vacillating between the past and the future. That again is an impediment to our spiritual practice. We must learn to keep the mind in the present moment. Keeping the mind in the present moment is a very skillful action. It is just like literally walking on a rope many feet above ground without falling. Buddha even has given a beautiful simile of a man carrying a bowl of oil filled to the brim in a large crowd that is whistling, tapping the floor with their shoes, clapping their hands, and appreciating, rejoicing a dancing beautiful girl on the stage. This man carrying the bowl filled with oil to the brim. Behind him, another man carrying, he lifted a sword and going to cut his head off if he dropped one drop of oil. Similarly, our mind is filled with so many things that has come through our six senses. It is extremely difficult for the mind to remain mindful amidst of all the information that we have in the mind. And yet, we have to do this, and we overcome our restlessness and worry, keeping this image in mind. Then the body and mind become more calm and relaxed. And we become very successful in doing so. Then of course, we have not overcome all our hindrances. One more remaining is our doubt. We may have doubt about the Buddha, his teaching, and the community of members of the Buddha, disciples. So we must understand, look at ourselves, and think of the Buddha's wonderful, noble, insightful instructions, and we are following that. And the Dhamma that has become even the Buddha's teacher is with us, leading us onwards, guiding us in the right path. The Sangha is accomplished of all these wonderful achievements. We are following them. We have trust in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. Similarly, we have to trust ourselves that we can do what Buddha has asked us to do. Keep this in mind. We overcome our doubt. Once all these hindrances are overcome, then the mind is so full of joy, happiness. When joy and happiness are strong, we gain concentration, which is very pure and clean state of mind that can see things as they are. And when you reflect on the beginning of the practice, that is becoming aware of rising and falling. At the beginning, rising and falling is very clear, but now with the concentrated mind, we can see the same rising and falling in a deepest way, more clearly, more precisely. We can see minutest changes of the smallest things in our body, breath, feeling, perceptions, and consciousness. They are constantly changing. Changing of the body, breath, and so forth seem to be more conspicuous, clearer, but rising and falling of our thoughts, perception, consciousness is not that clear because it happens so quickly that we hardly even can pinpoint. So quickly they change. Even that we can notice with concentrated state of mind, and then only can we be able to see non-existence of any permanent entity. So everything is volatile, evaporating, appearing and disappearing, never staying static, anything, not fixed point. Everything is changing. That helps us to overcome remaining greed, hatred and delusion. With this, I stop talking and then we continue our practice. By means of these meritorious deeds, may I never join with the foolish, may I join always with the wise, until the time I attain Nibbana. May the suffering be free from suffering, may the fear-struck be free from fear, may the grieving be free from grief, so too may all beings be, from the highest realm of existence to the lowest. May all beings arisen in these realms, with perception and without perception, be released from all suffering and attain to perfect peace. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Friends, this is today I am going to speak on the remaining part of right understanding. We discussed 4 kinds of nutriments. Now these nutriments themselves are not arising by themselves without any cause. The cause of nutriment is desire. That is what Venerable Sariputta mentioned in the discourse. Tanna samudaya, ahara samudayo. When craving arises, nutriment arises. Ahara means nutriments of 4 types. And all living beings live on these nutriments. That is why even in when Samanera Sopaka was questioned by the Buddha, he answered this question. The Buddha asked him, what is one? What is one? This Samanera said, all living beings live on food. All living beings' lives exist on food. Without food, no life can exist. Depends, all life depends on food. So, food is so important. All the 4 types of food. So, in order to maintain the 5 aggregates of 5 aggregates of suffering, the 5 aggregates of clinging is called 5 aggregates of suffering. Dukkha khanda, Buddha said in the first sermon, Dhamma Chakka Pavattana Sutta, and also in dependent origination. Dependent origination ends saying eva metasya kevalasya dukkha khandasya samudayo hoti. Thus arises this aggregates of suffering. What is the aggregate of suffering? Form, feeling, perception, thought and consciousness. They are called aggregates of suffering. Aggregates of suffering is another name for suffering, dukkha. Dukkha. Depend what you call the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, dukkha khandasya samudayo hoti. Dependent origination, dukkha khandasya. So dukkha and 5 aggregates are synonymous. In other words, dukkha and 5 aggregates are synonymous. Where there is 5 aggregates, there is dukkha. So dukkha and 5 aggregates are not 2 separate entities. Whenever we call dukkha, we must mean this bundle of 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perception, thought and consciousness, together put into one bundle and name it. You make a bundle and name it. If you name it, that name you can give to this bundle is suffering. Bundle of suffering, aggregates of suffering. Of course, when there is suffering, that also doesn't exist by itself. Suffering has a cause. That is what the Buddha discovered. What is the cause of suffering? Craving. Craving. So that is why Venerable Sariputta said, the food, the cause of food, nourishment is greed, desire. It is very interesting this. Why do we consume? Because we want to maintain the body. Why you want to maintain the body? Because we are attached to it. We cling to it. We decide to have the body, to maintain the body. So we need craving. So therefore 4 kinds of nutriments in this sense is synonymous with the suffering. 4 kinds of nutriments is synonymous with the suffering. Suffering is synonymous with the 5 aggregates. So 5 aggregates is supported, is caused by desire. Therefore, food also is caused by desire. When desire rises, food arises. When desire ceases, food ceases, nutriment ceases. So, with the arising of craving, there is the arising of nutriments. With the arising of craving, there is the arising of 5 aggregates. With the arising of craving, there is the arising of suffering. You see? All these are so knitted, connected. So, with the cessation of craving, there is the cessation of nutriment. With the cessation of craving, there is a cessation of aggregate. With the cessation of craving, there is a cessation of suffering. Cessation of craving, cessation of suffering, cessation of 5 aggregate, cessation of nutriments. When cause is ceased. It is very interesting. So Venerable Sariputta explained right understanding in this way. If we understand this, then we end our suffering. Of course, to end the suffering, there has to be a way, a method. That way is the Noble Eightfold Path. We all understand what the Noble Eightfold Path. Let us see, the first one is right understanding. If we understand this exactly as it is, any time, any moment, we can get rid of our desire and suffering. It is very interesting. This insight arises in somebody's mind irrespective of the age. Even 7-year-old child who does not know very much about languages, grammar, philosophy, and so forth, this 7-year-old child can, if that child can see that suffering arises because of craving, that child can attain liberation. How craving, how can he know that? Because craving is not something permanent. That is why its craving comes to an end. If the craving is permanent, enlightenment is impossible. Even if a child sees this without any language, any grammar and philosophy, in his own life, in his own experience, if one sees this truth very clearly, then the person will liberate from suffering. Now, that's simple, but most difficult. Why? We have made the simplest thing the most difficult thing. When you make the simplest the most difficult, of course we get entangled through our philosophy, psychology, grammar, and languages, and so forth, culture, custom, system, all keeps piling up, bombarding our mind, and the simplest truth will be hidden under the heap of all these conditions. And that is what happens to us. The child's mind is so pure and clean, easy. If the child is given a chance to look at his or her mind, child will attain enlightenment very quickly. That has happened in Buddhist history. We have heard of a 7-year-old girl attain enlightenment. Her name is Visakha, attained the stream entry. 7-year-old boy called Sopaka, and so forth. Occasionally you can see them, what you call child prodigies. Child prodigies. Today you call them child prodigies. And so, anyway, as adults, thinking, matured adults, let us go into more theoretical understanding of this connection between the food and craving. Now, there is one series of Dhammas given in Anguttara Nikaya. It's called section of 8. The section of 8, all the 8s are listed under that section. It's called Attaka Nipata. Attaka. Attaka means 8s. Nipata is section, chapters. So, one of them is called Chanda Mulaka Sabbya Dhamma. Chanda Mulaka. Chanda is desire. Chanda has desire either wholesome desire or unwholesome desire. When we have unwholesome chanda, unwholesome desire, that's called akusala chanda. We do all akusala, unwholesome, unskillful things. We have a desire to do unwholesome things or unskillful things. And that desire called akusala chanda. Chanda. Chanda mulaka sabbe dhamma. Mulaka means root. Mula means root. Chanda mulaka, root of all mental activities is desire. For instance, you have desire right now. You have desire. I have desire. My desire is kusala mula, kusala chanda, skillful desire. What is my skillful desire? I want to share Dhamma. That is my desire. You have a skillful desire because you want to listen to Dhamma. Skillful desire. If I decide to scold you, I have unwholesome desire. Then you have unwholesome desire by hating me for scolding you. So, you hate. That arises from a unwholesome desire. Or, if I think of stealing something from somebody, unwholesome desire arises. If desire arises to give to somebody, something to somebody, wholesome desire. If I want to, if desire arises to abuse my senses, unwholesome desire. If the desire arises in me to abstain from abusing senses, wholesome desire. Like that. So, the using unwholesome thoughts, words, deeds are the Dhamma. And this Dhamma arises from unwholesome root. This is called akusala chanda. Chanda mulaka. Chanda. And that chanda also is not something permanent, it's impermanent. I have a desire to do certain things or to go somewhere. When I completed my destination, reached the destination, my desire to go there comes to an end. My effort to go there comes to an end. So, when we have desire to have these 4 nutriments, if we have the desire to use 4 nutriments for more than maintaining this body, using this body, these 5 aggregates, for something wrong, unwholesome, then my chanda will be unwholesome chanda. If it is wholesome, that is wholesome chanda, chanda mulaka. Dhamma means all activities. All activities are called Dhamma. There is no, Dhamma is called, activities can be called Sankhara, activities can be called Dhamma, cause and conditions can be Dhamma. So all this begins in us from the root of desire. Chanda mulaka sabbe dhamma. If you want to do something, chanda arises, desire arises. That is chanda. So, second in that series is manasikara sambhava sabbe dhamma. Manasikara means paying attention. We have to have a desire to pay attention. If we don't have a desire to pay attention, we don't pay attention. The desire. Therefore, Manasikara sambhava sabbe dhamma, all the attention arises from, all the dhammas arises from attention. Otherwise, dhamma exists in us. Dhamma is existing, but we don't know it until we pay attention. For instance, rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling is a dhamma, the truth, impermanence. It is happening all the time. If we don't pay attention, we don't know. We talk with anger. If we don't pay attention to ourselves, we don't know that we are talking with anger. While talking with anger, we can pay attention to us, and then immediately we can check it. So, only when we pay attention, we see our weakness. We make many wrong things, and we express our weaknesses in many different ways. Until somebody points out our weakness, we don't know. But before somebody points out our weakness, we can see it when we pay attention to ourselves. So, only when we pay attention we can be mindful. If we don't pay attention, we cannot be mindful. Then, phassa samudaya. Phassa is another kind of food. We mentioned phasahara, contact, physical and mental, is a food. And all the dhammas arise from contact. What are the dhammas that arise from contact? Is feeling, perceptions, thought, consciousness. In Satipatthana Sutta we learn all these things under Dhammanupassana, mindfulness of Dhamma. Then the Vedana Samosarana Sabbe Dhamma. All Dhammas converge in feelings. All Dhammas come together in feeling. Vedana. These are the causes. Then, Venerable Sariputta said the cessation of desire is the cessation of food. Now, what is the cessation of desire? That is samadhi pamukha sabbe dhamma. When we gain concentration, we can see our hindrances subsiding, disappearing. If we gain deeper supramundane concentration, we can see our fetters disappearing. So that is the cessation. Cessation. First, out of these 8, first 4 are the arising of craving. The last 4 is cessation of craving. So number 1 of this cessation, the factors of these 8 is, or number 5 is the beginning of the cessation section, is concentration. Then satadipataya sabbe dhamma. When the mindfulness is the chief, head or leader of all dhammas, and when mindfulness is the thing that check all the unwholesome things, when desire rises, and mindfulness let go of desire, virag, nirodha, nissarana, is done with mindfulness. And that is the chief of the leader of mindfulness. Sata, sati, adipati. Sata, adipati. Adipati means chief. Then Panyuttara Sabbhe Dhamma. Wisdom is the head of all dhammas. Wisdom, Uttara means supreme. It is through the wisdom that we can get rid of all our defilements. Greed, hatred, delusion, jealousy, rivalry, fear, and so forth. All the defilements. Therefore, it is said Panyuttara. Uttara means in Anapanasati Sutta you said Sauttarang Chittam, Sauttarang Chittam Tapajanati. Anuttarang Chittam, Anuttarang Chittam. Anuttara means unsurpassable. Anuttari, there is nothing higher than that. Therefore, highest is the Panya, wisdom. Panyuttara Sabbedam. When that arises, our craving can disappear, fade away, disappear. Then, the last of all of them is the taste of all the taste, Vimutti Rasa Sabbhe Dhamma. When all the desires disappear, then liberation arises. Then liberation is the sweetest, the greatest taste, Vimutti, liberation. Vimutti Rasa Sabbhe Dhamma. Among all the Dhammas, Vimutti Dhamma is the sweetest liberation. Somebody may ask, what is that rasa? Rasa means taste. What is the taste of liberation? Is it sour? Honey's taste? Taste of apple? Taste of ginger? Taste of spice? Taste of bitter? Friends, this is not that kind of physical, biological, chemical taste. There is no chemical taste. This is the taste of liberation. No desire, no greed, no hatred. When we say peace of liberation, taste of peace, don't try to imagine or visualize any material, chemical, biological taste. This is beyond all this material taste, peace. So, when we think of cause of suffering is desire, end of suffering is end of desire. When ending reaches, we experience a kind of taste indescribable in words, but purely personally experiential. Personally experiential, that is what the Buddha said, Pacchattam veditabbo vinyuhi. One of the 6 qualities of Dhamma, wise individual personally can realize. So realizable by the wise individuals. Wise individuals. Unwise individuals also have some taste, realize all sort of things. But no one without wisdom realize the taste of peace. Taste of peace. So Venerable Sariputra's explanation was very wonderful. So friends, we discussed 4 types of nutriments: material food, kabalinkara, contact, pasahara, volition, manosanchetana, vijnana, consciousness, vijnana, consciousness. So, the desire is the root of all these 4 nutriments, desire. And that's what Venerable Sariputra said. End of the nutriments is the end of desire. When you say end of nutriments, we must mean end of suffering, end of suffering aggregates, and end of nutriment. End of desire is end of suffering. End of desire is end of nutriment. End of desire is end of 5 aggregate of clinging. So with this, friends, I want to end my talk as well. Just like everything ends. And my wish never ends. My wish is that may all those who are in hospitals, suffering in various infectious diseases or non-infectious, non-contagious, they are suffering, and may they return to normal life very quickly and continue their Dhamma work, liberate themselves from samsaric suffering. Those very compassionate, dedicated doctors, nurses, hospital staffs who take care of these patients with dedication, compassion, and risking their own lives, sacrificing their own personal comforts. May they continue their wonderful service and remain healthy, live long in good health to continue their wonderful service, and finally they too attain liberation. And there are many people who have been struck by grief, by losing their loved ones. Here is my friend, he lost his dear mother, maybe last year, who used to come here, very dedicated, wonderful, wonderful lady. And may they all be free from their grief and live very long in very good health to continue Dhamma service. And then other leaders, other compassionate, far-sighted, insightful, wise leaders, taken leadership to lead the country's people with compassion, helping them in many ways and advising them to maintain their all health instructions and live in healthy life. And those leaders also live long in very good health and attain liberation. Those who are supporting financially all these projects, individuals, organizations, may they continue their wonderful, generous practice, which I'm sure they enjoy themselves more than the recipients, and may they continue their wonderful service to enjoy and live long in very good health and peace. May all of you who are joining us with so much dedication, love and respect and compassion, may you all live long in very good health. Thank you for helping us to help you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu,
Thank you,
sadhu.
Bhante.
Bhante.
Tuan Saranai.
Thank you, Bhante.